Hey everyone, it's Jack here, TalkNorwichCity City. Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing very well. Slightly different backdrop today. It looks very plain, doesn't it? Sorry about that. I've been here, there and everywhere last few weeks, so apologies for that. Norwich City have been here, there and everywhere last few weeks as well, and the trips don't get any shorter. It's a cross-country trip to South Wales this weekend for Norwich City against Cardiff. And look, Cardiff are a revitalised side, aren't they, under their new caretaker manager? They were rock bottom of the table after 6 games. And although, position-wise, they're not too much higher. They're in 20th now. The last 6 games have been incredibly impressive, and particularly their defensive record as well. One of the best in the league over the last few games. We're here to concentrate about Norwich, though. And look, it's been an interesting, I think a challenging week, or a couple of weeks really for Norwich. And Johannes Hoff Thorup has had to juggle a lot. And ever since that kind of last international break, really, there's been concern, particularly around the kind of health and the injury status of a lot of the players. Angus Gunn is obviously out. You've got Marcelino Nunez is out. You've got Kenny McLean, who is now out, not through injury, but suspension, which adds another difficult dynamic to that midfield. You're now essentially without your best 2 midfielders, and you're going into 2 games here in Cardiff and then Sheffield Wednesday on Tuesday, both away from home, without your best 2 midfielders, and that's going to be a struggle for any team, particularly this Norwich side. However, despite the challenges that we've faced over the last couple of weeks, we're still unbeaten in that period. Yes, it's been 3 draws, 3 games that we probably, certainly 2 of them should have won in Preston and Stoke. I thought the draw against Middlesbrough was almost so balmy you can kind of draw a line through that. But the pleasing thing with this Norwich side is they seemingly don't give in, they don't give up. There is a character that's been instilled from Johannes Hoff Thorup and Glenn Riddlesholm and the other Norwich City coaching staff. And that's a really pleasing factor, and a factor that I don't think we've probably had since Daniel Farke. An ability to grind results out when we're not at our best. And there will come games like Hull and like Watford at home where we blow teams away and we're at our scintillating best, and maybe the opposition aren't quite up to it. They're great. They're lovely to watch. We did that plenty of times under David Wagner. But it was the games like Sunday when we played Middlesbrough, and for half an hour of that game, we were way below standards, and Johannes Hoff Thorup has mentioned that. And yes, the game kind of got away from us in that period, but we found a way back in it. I think under previous regimes and previous head coaches, that game could have quite easily ended 4-5-1. And look, maybe it would have done if that penalty had gone in. But the rallying cry from that and the response to that was incredibly pleasing. And we saw it against Preston as well. 10 minutes, the game completely unfolds. We're 2-0 down away from home on a Tuesday night, following up a long away trip on the Saturday, and we find a way back in it. And I think that's huge for 2 things. It's, of course, huge for points on the board, and come the end of the season, they may well be the difference between us finishing top 6 and not. And it's huge to keep momentum going over. At home, we were very good under David Wagner. We are unbeaten in a year. That's a massive achievement, but the reason that we probably didn't achieve the things that we wanted to achieve under David Wagner came down to the fact that our away record was so poor. And Cardiff lie in 20th place, but this is going to be a really difficult game. There is not a easy game, as the cliche goes, in the Championship. There are easier games, and I suspect Norwich will be targeting this one as a game that they will hope to go and win. But if you can manage to pick up points on a regular basis away from home, you're not going to be too far off things come the end of the season. Now, let's talk about the midfield, because, of course, that Kenny McLean suspension, at the moment, it's 3 games, although it could be longer. He's been charged by the FA, I think, for some foul language towards the referee. So we'll see how that turns out. Let's hope it's not any longer than 3 games, because that would be disastrous. I've got a funny feeling that we might see Kellen Fisher shifted forwards and Jack Stacey brought into right back. Now, I think it was pre-season that Kellen Fisher was kind of tried in that midfield role, and Thorup has spoken about using him in a higher position a couple of times now. So it wouldn't be a complete surprise. And Kellen Fisher played in a more advanced role as a younger footballer. You've obviously got Oscar Schwartau as well. I think the difference between Fisher and Schwartau came on against Middlesbrough at the weekend, and I thought was incredibly impressive. And I think it goes slightly under the radar that he's still only 18 years old. His performances have been so mature so far. I remember watching him come on at Selhurst Park, in that cup defeat, and instantly came on and made an impact. And it was the same on Sunday when he came on. His driving runs are so impressive. I just think with Fisher, he probably adds a little bit more defensive solidity in that element. I would be slightly concerned to have Schwartau next to someone else. I think that could get slightly overrun. Johannes Hoff Thorup mentioned as well that although Cardiff have been really good defensively in the last few weeks, they are quite an attacking side and will leave opportunity for this Norwich side to counter-attack. So maybe a Fisher in that midfield. He's, of course, been brilliant going forwards from the right-back position, and we saw the goal that came off of his cross on Sunday. It will be interesting to see. There are obviously other options. Jakob Sorensen may well be drafted in. I would be surprised if we saw him start, considering his recent injury concerns. But this is now an opportunity for others to step up. We've seen the kind of other injuries be filled in quite well. This is now an opportunity for another midfielder to really step up, and they are going to have to, because we've seen the effect that not having Marcelino Nunes in there has on this side, and I think that's a big loss. Kenny McLean is probably one of the most consistent performers in the Championship, so someone really needs to step in now and stand up. The other interesting thing from the press conference was Thorup's kind of comments around Josh Sargent and wanting to get him more involved in games and maybe, improve those numbers slightly. And I think it was noticeable on Sunday with Josh Sargent in terms of he was dropping incredibly deep at times. And, Borja Sainz has been the star man, and 10 goals, I think, in 12 games, isn't it? And a few assists as well. It's been Sargent supplying Sainz, which is atypical in Sargent is the 9 and Sainz is the winger. You'd usually see those roles reversed. But for Sargent, I think now the system that we're playing, it's important for him to get into games more in the box, more opportunities for shooting positions as opposed to Sargent supplying the crosses. So, look, I think Sargent's been really impressive so far this season. I think some of the assists he's picked up, some of the goals he's had, his numbers are still, top end of the Championship so far. So the fact that Thorup thinks there's more to come from Sargent is just an incredibly exciting proposition. Norwich, I think now they're probably in the mindset of just having to grind this out until the next international break. The injury to Gunn, the injury to Nunes, the injury or the suspension to McLean has come at a really difficult time in a period where there's lots of away games. These are away games in Wales and up north, and it's been a pretty brutal schedule for this team over the last few weeks. If they can grind it out until the international break, I think there's 3 more games, this Sheffield Wednesday and then Bristol City at home. If they can get through that with maybe a couple of draws and a win, or brilliant if it's more than that, then I think they'd be happy with that return. If we can keep in touch with the top 6 until the bulk of this squad returns, then we're doing well. But this certainly isn't going to be easy, and Cardiff have been mightily impressive over the last few weeks to turn this around. So this is a big one. It feels big, and it feels like Norwich now need to convert one of these draws into a win. If you strap on a defeat on the back of 3 draws, it feels very, very different to if we were to go away from home and win this. And actually, our recent record against Cardiff has been good. We won the last 3 times against them, so it's certainly possible. I still believe in this Johannes Hoff Thorup side. I've been excited by the football we've played. There have been periods recently of kind of 20-minute sections in games where we've been ever so slightly scrappy. If we can eradicate those, then we're going to see a lot more wins this season. I'm really excited about that. Let me know what you think going into this weekend's game down in the comment section below. We'll be having a review video. There's a watch along coming next week, so look out for that. And take care if you're heading to South Wales. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye.